years ago, I stood here with a red marker to show the curse, a great curse, the curse of a nuclear Iran. But today I bring this marker to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors. We will not only bring down barriers between Israel and our neighbors, we'll build a new corridor of peace and prosperity that connects Asia through the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, to Europe. This is an extraordinary change, a monumental change, another pivot of history. But I also believe that we must not give the Palestinians a veto over new peace treaties with Arab states. Sanctions must be snapped back. And above all, Iran must face a credible nuclear threat.
The question is, why did Benjamin Netanyahu visit Saudi Arabia? Well, it marked a preeminent point in history between the two countries. In November of 2020, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had traveled to Saudi Arabia and met with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. This was the first known meeting between the Crown Prince and Benjamin Netanyahu. On Israel's army radio, then the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant congratulated Netanyahu on the remarkable achievement, but wouldn't go say that Netanyahu and Prince bin Salman had met. But it's no secret now, they did meet. The thing was, what was on the table? Was it Gaza? Was it Iran? Was it Syria? Was it Lebanon? It was all these things. Because this happened before the incursion of Hamas and Israel on October 7th. This came before the West's support of Abu Muhammad al-Jalani in Syria. And so the fractured divide between the Sunni and Shia began. Now, this is a problem because what we're seeing now is basically a precursor to what I think is a wider regional war between Sunni and Shia for the religiously ideological conflict. And then you have Israel's geopolitical ambitions, which is basically Greater Israel. It's not a fringe conspiracy, it's an actual fact. Now, in the past, Saudi Arabia and Iran had tried to mend relationships, even though they're both ideologically different. Iran is Shia. Saudi Arabia is Sunni, Wahhabi. Now, during the Gaza conflict, a majority of the Saudi population stood behind the Palestinians. They sympathized with their suffering, as they always usually do. The Crown Prince and the King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, of course, denigrated Israel government for their incursion into Gaza, needlessly killing people. However, something changed. And it was during the April 2024 Iranian strikes in Israel that Saudi Arabia went to denigrating Israel to assisting Israel, along with Jordan. Now, these events further complicated, of course, the relationships between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And so if we're going to ever see any peace in this region, I'm a pessimist. I don't think there's going to be. It has to come between the Gulf states and the Shia countries in Syria, Lebanon, and Iran. And it all depends on the Gulf. It depends on Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Now, the one thing I could say is that Saudi Arabia had challenged the Abraham Accords when it tried to reestablish diplomatic relations with Iran. And because of the Gaza war, the Abraham Accords in late last year had appeared to have been stalled in light of Israel's mass killing of the Palestinians in Gaza, and especially on what's happening in Lebanon, the West Bank. And there's always this tension between the two countries, Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's an uneasy feel. And so it's going to be up to Mohammed bin Salman, who's trying to modernize the country, as comes also through the forced invigilation between the United States and bin Salman, in that after 9/11, the United States government, under then the Bush administration, had pressured King Fahd to basically make the reformations happen, or else we'll allow for certain documents to be declassified. And under the Biden administration, under Executive Order 1040041, we got parts of the Operation Encore files, which shows that Saudi Arabian intelligence were involved with providing logistical financial support to two known Al Qaeda operatives, along with the CIA's assistants. But the United States has been covering for Saudi Arabia, especially in the civil suit in the Southern District of New York. So we have this problem. And by the way, just incidentally enough, the Southern District of New York filed a civil class lawsuit and won against Iran for housing Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, which didn't happen. They managed to pass through the country to escape going through Saudi Arabia, but they considered that housing terrorists, right? Just like these nationalists in the Bush and the Trump administration that wants to push for this war because Iran is facilitating terrorism. Meanwhile, they don't do as such. Yes, they support Hamas against the Israeli government. They do support Hezbollah, but it wasn't Hezbollah who attacked 9/11. It wasn't Hezbollah who attacked the embassies in 98. It wasn't Hezbollah who attacked the World Trade Center in 93 or the USS Cole in the year 2000. That was Al-Qaeda and the Saudi-backed militants. And now we're fucking supporting these motherfuckers in Syria, in Afghanistan. I mean, the Haqqani Network and Al-Qaeda, along with the Shura Council and the Taliban in Afghanistan, are basically regrouping, and a freaking huge army, along with all the weapons that we had left behind. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Donald Trump. 20-year war, longest war in U.S. history, just for the Taliban to take it over in less than a week. $3 trillion. It's all up to the Middle East. We know we're not going to get any help in the United States government. They're sold, bought out. Their power resides in Israel and the United States coexisting for the geopolitical interests, along with the interests of the Department of Defense and private military contractors. Not, of course, save the interests of the ghouls in the Israeli government from the religious Zionist party and the Ahmed Yahud party and the Kahanists, the terrorists that the Jewish Islamic State, which make up for the current right-wing party under Benjamin Netanyahu. Iran and Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia wants to keep normalizations with the West, that means they have to side with China in terms of trade deals and have to separate from Iran. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Saudi Arabia will normalize relations with China and Eurasia and the West, and then basically disassociate from their brethren, because they're all Muslims. Where's the Ummah in this, right? Because they're from a different sect. And I'm pretty sure that the religious council in Saudi Arabia are basically pressuring bin Salman to make this deal because it's much more profitable for the United States to purchase their oil at a discounted price and also to buy American weapons, because no country on the face of the earth buys more weapons than Saudi Arabia. What does Iran do? Well, Israel considers Iran an enemy, and therefore, by default, the neocons and the hard left all agree with Israel on this, that there should be no relations with Iran and we should demonize them. In fact, as you saw in the beginning of the video, Netanyahu has been lying about Iran for over 20 years, pressuring the United States to go to war. The United States, for those who are saying that Israel controls the United States, we would have went to war with Iran already. It's not the case. Not that way. The United States allows for Iran to have influence. Now, whether you say it's blackmail, money, whatever, it's more to do with this. But Israel is a strategic point for the United States because they can fight against their enemies easier. It's up to Iran and Saudi Arabia, because once that decision is made that Saudi Arabia and the Gulf want nothing to do with Iran, the war will begin. And it already has. The United States is currently surrounded. Iran, through the Hormuz Straits and the Mediterranean Sea. I don't know what Turkey's going to do, but they got their hands full with the Kurds. So between the doctrinal differences, between the geopolitical aspirations of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, it really becomes an issue of, will there be normalization between the two countries or will they not? Because if there's no normalization, if there's no future, then the United States will be engaging Iran in a war sooner than we think. Thank you very much for tuning into the video. See you in the next one. Take care.